And I think I called you out right then and there. And I was like, when you say you think about it, that means no. And you just don't want to tell me no.
Welcome back to our channel, Richard's Family Legacy, as we document our journey to building our family legacy. I am Jermaine Richards.
I am Camille Richards. We are two siblings working together to establish our goals, and we are bringing it here every Sunday.
Now, today, we're going to talk about, should we work together as siblings?
Why wouldn't you want to work with me, Jermaine?
True, but we should have probably asked this question from the very beginning. This should probably have been our first episode. We're like 3 in, and we're asking the question, should brothers and sisters work together? Should they build a legacy together? Should they build a brand together? Should they build a business together? What do you think?
I mean, we're here now. Might as well stick it out.
We're already here, right?
We're already here. I mean, well, do you know of any brother, or not even brother, sister, but sibling partnerships that have been successful? Can you name any?
Off the top of my head, they're a team, I would say, in terms of and outside of the Kardashians. We won't count the Kardashians.
Yeah, but that's their mother, though. Let's be real.
The tennis players, the sisters.
Williams.
The Williams.
Serena, Venus.
Yeah. I don't know. Did the Olsen twins do anything together?
Oh yeah, they had their clothing line,
Their
right?
clothing line.
The Wright brothers, right? The airplane people.
Yeah, the Wright, but that's a great one. The Wright brothers. We saw them in the museum, right?
Yep, when you came to visit me finally.
Yeah, finally.
Ooh, although maybe you can think of, but my favorite, the Marley family, because they're all siblings.
Yeah, the Marley
they all
family.
work together from different aspects, kind of similar to us, right?
Marley coffee, try it if you haven't.
I mean, all Jamaican coffee, but yes, Marley coffee, Marley everything. They have good spices too.
We should do sponsorships, by the way. If we're going to start talking about they should pay us.
I mean, I'll just take a free ticket to Camille and Marley's concerts, and all of them, and the cruise.
Why not?
Yeah. So I mean, I actually love their relationship. I think it's inspiring.
It is.
Anyone else that you can think of?
Off to the top of my head, no. I'm drawing a blank.
But it works, right? It seems to work in some aspects.
Yeah, I think it's scary for a lot of people because of what we're going to go into. And by the way, this call is not scripted at all. Like, we have some talking points, but neither of us knows what each other's talking points are. So this is going to be interesting. I think we're going to learn a lot as we go.
This may be our last video.
I know. So
Lord.
Here's where I think we can start. And I'll ask it like this. I'm just going to be blunt. What are some of your pet peeves, me as your bigger brother, older brother, and working together as siblings? What are some of those pet peeves that come to mind?
So, I mean, let's say, okay. So in general, I will say sometimes you're like a little, what's the right word? You don't like to like concrete on things. And I've learned that like when you don't give me a straight answer, the answer is no, but you don't want to tell me no. So, and sometimes you'll like utilize your wife as a excuse. For example, a couple months ago, I was like, oh, Jermaine, let's try to go diving in Jamaica when we go in May, and you're like, oh, I'll think about it. And I think I called you out right then and there. And I was like, you know, when you say you think about it, that means no. And you just don't want to tell me no. And you were like, yeah, that's basically it. And I was like, I've learned your lessons. I've learned your like little ways around things. And yeah, sometimes you don't like to like say no. I don't know if you're scared of me or something, but
No, that's definitely not it.
that's not it.
No.
So yeah, sometimes you don't like to give a if you don't like to give a concrete answer, even though you know the concrete answer.
Okay.
What do you have to say for yourself?
I will say that sometimes your questions might catch me off guard, right? And um, when it comes to planning, for example, let's go back to the diving example. Uh, it's not that I wouldn't want to go diving. For sure, I love diving. I'm certified, but sometimes when you have like the kids there, um, you know, and they don't feel sometimes that they can be a part of it. I'm always trying to think how I can involve them in kind of what I'm doing sometimes, um, so that they can be a part of it or that they can do it. So it's not that I don't want to or I don't know how to say no, because part of me does want to scuba dive. It's just in my head. I'm thinking, let me see if this is something that I can make happen. Um, at the end of the day. So I would say that it's not that I don't know how to say no. I do know how to say no. I've said no lots of times, but
But not straight out,
it depends on
not
what
to
it
me.
is. Depends on what it is. Depends on what it is. So yeah, that's what I would have to say back.
Okay. I half accept your answers because, if I'm going to plan something, of course I'm going to include the kids in a one way or the other. You wouldn't even
Well,
have to think about
they
it.
they can't scuba dive.
Wouldn't have to scuba dive.
No, they would
I would
watch
have
us
made
from the
sure
top.
no, I would have made sure they were taken care of. They were either on a beach or they were snorkeling or they were doing something. Trust me, Jermaine. You just haven't
Yeah.
traveled with me enough.
No, I hear you and I know where you're coming from. It's when I mentioned the kids, and really I'm not trying to use them as an excuse
I
as
was
you
about to
may think.
say excuse.
It's you have to include them so that they feel like, because a lot of my activities, if you have noticed, have changed, right? Um, the activities outside of work and business have always are now around them. Like they involve a large part of, like I go to indoor playgrounds like you never believe. I go to all these things, right? And it's all to keep them stimulated, right? So yeah, should I do more activities by myself or, with my wife only and things like that with you? Yes, of course. But I haven't been. And I would say I'm guilty of that. That I am guilty of.
See, I think that would be like another, I wouldn't necessarily say pet peeve or con, but another like factor to consider is that we are in two different like aspects of our lives, right?
100%.
Um, where I am just kind of living life for myself, right? I travel, I do whatever I want to do, I spend my money however I want to spend it, on whomever I want to spend it, where you do have to consider two kids and a wife in every decision. And I respect that. But it can be a barrier, right? Because when I'm like, oh, let's do this. This is perfect. I may end up doing it by myself, but and while I still understand, don't never get me wrong, I would never not understand. Um, that aspect is a part of it as well. But I will fault you for thinking that I would not, if I said, let's go scuba diving, of course I'm going to find something for the kids in Latoya to do. And no, no, not watching us from above.
But I guess that's the part of me that tugs on my heart because they are not involved in the actual scuba diving. Um, part of me wants them, and they might be completely okay with it, but part of that me wants them to be there with me, doing the activity with me, right? So that's why sometimes you'll see me opt to go, let's say hiking or something that all of us can kind of do at the same time, right? That's
See Olivia
just
hiking.
if, huh?
You see Olivia hiking.
If I carry her on my back.
Exactly.
Right. So that's where that hesitation comes from. Sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would challenge you on that in that I would see it like I get it. I don't get me wrong, I get it, but I would challenge you also in that if you don't do those things, then how are they going to know that those are things to do, right? Or if you have to go like when it's ready for you, time for them to do it, they're comfortable with swimming, and then you have to go get certified, you have to go do all of that. Like you should do it and show them that they do it so they have something to point towards. They'll be like, "Oh, I want to do that. I think it's cool."
Yeah,
I
yes
mean,
and no.
Auntie can't
But
be
I
the only
think
cool one in the family.
Auntie's not the only cool one. Get out of here. You know, so that's going back to what you're saying. That's where that stems from. Okay,
Hmm.
it's not. It all depends on the activity. It all depends on the ability, because remember they are 6 or 7
Yeah,
now
they're young.
and 8. They're still young, and it's another couple of years. I promise you, when Dylan is of age, when can you be of age to scuba dive?
I think
16?
it's no, I think it's like 12.
Is it 12? I don't recall off the top of my head. He'll be the first one in there, right? He'll be dragging me, and then at that point I have to use a different excuse to say no.
No, because he you can say no and then he'll just come with me.
Yeah, he'll oh, can I go? Can I go? Come. But he pushes me, and Olivia pushes me to do all these things. A lot of the things they want to do, they're not even of age yet. Like I'm sure Dylan would go skydiving. Like, he's that kind of person. I'm still dreading when he comes to that idea, but that's something he would do. Rock climbing, like we go to Canada's Wonderland, he's getting shot out of those slingshot rides. Right? He's doing those over, and he keeps going around and around and around. So those kind of high adrenaline activities, hopefully when he's of age, my bones can still keep up. But
If you're
yeah,
not doing it now,
well, get ready. That's when I'll send him to you.
well, and then we'll have fun and we'll send you pictures.
I'll look at the pictures.
All right. We've talked about you enough. What about me? Nothing? Okay, perfect. Let's go on. Next topic.
No, it's not a pet peeve, right? But I will say one of the things that comes with a sibling relationship is that high level of accountability when you're going to do any type of business venture. Because why? Your siblings know you inside out, right? And they'll call you out. And so prime example, when you say, let me think about it, that it's probably leaning towards no, right? So um that in itself sometimes makes it gives the business relationship, an
Hmm.
interesting dynamic. So I wouldn't call it a bad thing or a good thing. It's just something that is there and you have to be cognizant of. But I think one of the dangers, though, because they know you, because you know me, um, the danger could be to only see through those lens. Like when you have a new relationship or a new partnership, it's fresh. It's like, whoa, right? New set of eyes. Everything is different. One of the things that can be limiting is to only see through those pair of eyes, right? So, but I wouldn't call it a pet peeve or anything that's negative, I would say.
Something to be aware of
So
in
yeah,
the
yeah, something to be
relationship.
aware
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I would say like another con or like and this isn't really well, it can you can do this sometimes. Is like knowing because you know how to like push each other's buttons, right? Like you know what's going to get me annoyed or riled up. And I kind of have an idea of some of the things that may get you annoyed and riled up. And if we're like feuding or angry at one another at some point, like it'll be very easy for me to be like, ha, I know how to get him and do something. Although I feel like we are matured beyond that point now, maybe when we were in like high school, we used to do it a lot more.
A lot.
Uh, but yeah, feel like that's a part of it, right? Like we know what can get to each other, and sometimes that can be weaponized.
Yeah. It triggers.
Yeah.
I see it with Dylan and Olivia all the time. They know triggers, right? And it's funny, as I'm seeing them grow up, I think about you and I as we were growing up, and I think, yeah, that's something I would have done, or that's something Camille would have done. And
Hmm.
even though I'm yelling at them, stop that, hey, don't do that, right? I'm laughing in my mind because I'm like, yeah, that's something either
We've
of
done
us
it.
would have probably have done.
It's like when I started calling you Chris.
Yes. And why do you call me Chris?
That's your middle name.
Saint Christopher, by the way.
Yeah. It's a, it's a nickname,
Saint Christopher.
right?
It is. It is. But that doesn't trigger me. I'm good.
At first, you never liked it because
I
didn't you
didn't.
told me, huh?
I didn't. When I was younger, yeah,
Yeah, you
I
didn't
didn't.
like it. And I mean, there is another story behind it at that time, but we don't have to bring that up.
A different podcast.
Different podcast, different time. Yeah. What else? What else do you got for us? What other con or pet peeve?
Um, Going back to what you were saying, the triggers, I think we know each other's weaknesses more than anyone else.
Is that a
Um,
con?
Not really. Not really.
I think
And
that's
in terms of the way we would use it, I don't think so, because I think my weaknesses, you complement, right? A lot of the things that I suck at, you
mhm.
complement. And I think vice versa, right? We can help each other in that way. So we know each other's strengths, we know each other's weakness. So I think not really a con um, per se.
So I have a little, I'm sorry. Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
So I was doing again, I do research. So one of the articles that I read, and I'm gonna kind of just quote it sort of. It was looking at another article, and they basically said that siblings, even growing up in like the same household, they're only really similar in personality about 20% of the time. And the theory to that is the theory of divergence. So basically, because we're growing up in the same household and competing for the same thing, and that same thing is attention and love from parents, we find other ways, like the way to evolve. Instead of competing the same way, we evolve different ways to get that attention, right?
Mhm.
So that's why we build different strengths and weaknesses. And, I read this and I thought about something mom used to say all the time. Do you know what I'm going to say?
No, I don't.
No. Okay. I don't know if she's ever said this to you, but she said it to me. So growing up, I was always the quiet one, right? In school, on my letter, like on my report card, Camille is too quiet, Camille is too quiet. And she blamed you. Did you know that?
She blamed me for you being too quiet.
Yeah. Because you were like the loud one, you were always getting into trouble, you were doing all this other stuff when we were younger. So the she thought because I saw that and saw you doing all of that, I went the opposite way and I was like ultra good and ultra quiet and never wanted to speak because I never wanted to get into trouble. Right. And I mean, it's still now, I'm the quiet and shy one, right? And you're a little bit more out there. You can talk and meet people and stuff like that. Like we've grown in two different directions.
Do you know the interesting thing about what you're saying is naturally I'm an introvert. If you leave me to my natural state, naturally I will be quiet. I'll naturally, it takes effort, believe it or not, for me to go and meet someone and talk to someone. It's part
Mhm.
of this thing that I have in my mind because I fear it. I go after it. Like it's
Mhm.
terrifying to go and talk to someone. It's terrifying to be in front of a group of people. But because I fear it, I attack it. So I've always had anything in my mind that I'm kind of scared of, I attack. And that's why I've always done it. It's just a habit. But really, I don't like it. I'm an introvert by nature. Don't tell anyone. Okay.
But you're good at it. You're telling the world now, really. But you're good at it. You know, where I've done like my speeches and stuff like that. And I like even if it's a fear, like it doesn't, I feel like it brings you satisfaction. For me, it doesn't bring me satisfaction.
Yeah, I can see that. The satisfaction those comes from the overcoming of it.
Yeah. But like for me, like overcoming a fear, it was more like um deciding to jump off a mountain on a bungee. That's
Which you
overcoming my
would do.
fear. I've
You
done
and
it.
Dylan
Yeah.
are like this. You guys think of these things in your mind to do, um, that the outcome, you're praying that it goes the right way, and then you go and you do it, right?
Yeah. I mean, if I gotta die, why not die? Like
Why not
diving in the
splat
blue
all
hole
across the bottom of the
or like
mountain in
suffocate
Brazil?
in
Why
the
not?
blue hole in Belize. I mean, it's one way or
Yeah,
the other. You
why
got a
not?
story to tell. It's a story. I mean, why not? But yeah. So I feel like that's a little different, right? Between that's like that quote is exactly us. That's what I feel like.
Hmm.
I don't know. What do you
So
think?
no, I think really what I'm hearing is we can't BS each other. So there's a high level of accountability.
Mhm.
Um, that means that we're gonna be in a high chance to succeed.
I have some other cons though.
Go on. Are
All
these
right.
general cons or are these Jermaine brother specific cons? Let's be straight here.
So like I'll say them and you can figure it out.
No, no, you got a point that you got to say because if we got to
No, these are
identify.
general cons. The only like con that I had was that one. I've been holding it in for months.
Okay, listen, any con that you have, don't hold it in. Just let it all out. Okay? Let it all out. We're airing our dirty laundry for the world to see.
So, you know that one time, Jermaine, like 10 years ago, you remember the time you put my finger on a hot iron?
It was a stove and I didn't put it.
No, it was a kettle, and you
No,
did put it.
no, it was that ugly green stove.
No, the kettle was sitting on the ugly green stove, and you took my finger, and you were like,
I have a different recollection of that.
"Well, my memory is better than yours."
Okay.
Anyways, next. Um, so here's one
Mm,
that I thought would be interesting, which I feel like is also not true with us because I feel like we've lived most of our adult lives or young adult lives in separate areas. But if you've grown up in the same household, you probably have a lot of the same like views, like outside views, right? Or the way that things are being done, stuff like that. It's just something that I thought, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what a good example of that would be, but like you may, like traditions, right? So it's like the only way I can think of it or think to explain it. Like if you grow up in the same house, you're gonna have the same tradition of how to decorate a Christmas tree, right? You've learned that you're gonna put the lights on, then you're gonna put the streamers on, then you're gonna put the decorations on. But if you've never gone to another person's house or celebrated Christmas with another person, then you're not gonna realize that that person, that you could spray something on the tree and then put up, streamers and, I don't know, do something different. You won't have that
yeah,
outside reference unless you go like specifically go out to find it. So similar, like two siblings in a business may not have outside may not have differing views. I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Let's unpack it for a second.
Okay.
So brother, sister, or brother, sister, sister, whatever, grow up,
Siblings.
same household. And like one of the traditions um, we have, for example, is Sunday morning, we like to have breakfast together. And
Mhm.
Sunday evening, we like to have dinner together. Um, because we have grown and seen that our entire lives, we will, and we do this with our family. Sunday mornings, we like to have
Mhm.
breakfast. Sunday evening, we like to have dinner, right? And it's a tradition. So um, if I'm hearing you right, if you're not careful, those traditions can limit the brother and sister because they're too much alike. They're
Mhm.
too similar. So like they don't complement each other, or is that, am I saying it
Kind
along
of
the lines?
in like certain things, like
Hmm.
just the same where you have that divergence, you may still have some too many similarities, and you don't have that outward input, right? To give you another idea.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got
So
you.
yeah, similar. Yeah.
Here's another one. I would say a generic one. I don't think we have it, and if we do, it's not direct. It might be something we do and we don't know each other is doing it. Competition. Um, Sometimes that competitive nature, I've seen it in siblings, that competitive nature has driven them to do things that they don't even necessarily want to do. They
Mhm.
are just competing for the sake of competing. Now, there's nothing bad with competition. I love competing. I think it's a great, when it's healthy competition, it's a good thing. But if it's not, right, what happens? And think about bringing that into a business environment where imagine we're not competing, or we are, sorry, competing against each other, but we're not driven towards the same outcome, if that makes
Yeah.
sense, right? So,
Yeah.
oh, Camille did this short. Let me try and do a better short, right? No, she does a great short. I have no idea how she even does half the things she does. It's great. Let's leverage that. You get what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
it could derail a lot of people. Competition,
Yeah, I
unhealthy
feel like,
competition, I'll say.
yeah, I mean, I think a level of competition is always good in a certain aspect. I feel like we've always kind of had, like, we've always kind of just lived our lives like together but separate. Like, we've all had our different, like, we've seen what each other has wanted to do, and we said, okay, that's great, but that's not for me, right? Like, for example, in, was it, no, it wasn't in high school. It was before, it was after high school. Like, you bought a car, all right? And you worked hard. You bought your car. It was great. You did what you needed to do to get that vehicle. I had no desire. Mind you, I got a car not until I was in medical school, right? Drove mom and dad's car. I didn't need a car. Went to college, not like I went to university. I went to medical school. You saw what I was doing. You didn't feel any need to do the same, right? Like, you completed your education, and I think you had started to do something further, and you realized that wasn't for you, and you went a different route, right? So we've seen each other achieve higher things without feeling like it was something that we each had to do for ourselves. And I think we've been always been like that. And we may have competed in other ways. I don't know. Maybe I wanted your Aki or something like that, or the last dumpling or something, but like never on a motivational, or never on that aspect, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I'm coming from, like the healthy versus unhealthy
Mhm.
competition, I think is the best way to put it.
I feel like if we were competing, we would say like we're competing, like
Yeah.
we're gonna do this, and it would be fun in a different way,
But
right?
I think that's what makes it healthy. It's a fun
Yeah. Like it's
competition.
it's on it's specific. Like, we're gonna
Yeah.
be like, all right, we're gonna figure out a way to make $2,000 in 2 months. Let's do it. And then it would be fun, and it wouldn't be. I don't know. Something like that. Absolutely. No,
Okay.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Um, so here is one that I thought of, and again, this is like future in the future type of thing that I'm thinking of. Working together as siblings, I can see, not an issue between the two of us, but we have parents, we have cousins and aunts. When they start to figure out what we're doing, they're gonna start like saying things, right? Or trying to like insert themselves and maybe not like being part of the business, but like, they're gonna be naysayers and stuff like that from outside, outside family input outside of the business. They may involve themselves instead of like, red. You don't know who I'm working with and you don't really have nothing to say.
Mhm. Yeah. So if and can you elaborate a little bit more on what the concern would be?
So it would be, say say me, okay, finally we get to the point where we're buying property, right? We've set it down and all of a sudden, Uncle so and so hears that
Hmm.
we're doing that, and they're like, why are you doing that with Camille? Right? Like, Camille lives in
Mm.
the States. She's doing her thing over there. Why, you can do this by yourself. Why bother doing it together? You know what I mean? Like people
Hmm.
have their negative says,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
you know what I mean? And like maybe they mean well for the individual, but they don't see the work that we've been putting together. They're not as close to you or not as close to me to know who we are specifically. Right. So I can see those like I just, foreseeing like little things in that aspect.
And the way I would term it is you're not relevant if people aren't talking about you. So I hope that that happens.
Maybe.
I you need that.
Right.
I heard a speaker say it one time. You need some haters, man. You need some haters. You're not doing something big enough if you don't have haters. That's, if people aren't putting hateful, not hateful, but negative comments, some dislikes, because you need that balance to get it going, right?
Mhm.
Everybody doesn't
All
like
press is good
Jay-Z.
press.
Yeah, everybody doesn't like Beyonce. Everybody doesn't like any of the celebrity. They have haters and they have a healthy share of haters. By the way, the haters, I think, cause you more uh, publicity than the people that like you.
Maybe. I don't know.
So
All
let's
right.
get some more uncle naysayers.
All right. So, what else do you got?
Um, in terms of cons, nothing,
Nothing?
nothing else. I
Okay.
think, um, I think the pros outweigh the cons any day, in my opinion. I think that the ability for two siblings to come together and build something, there's going to be, this is my favorite one, a high level of trust.
Hmm.
I think that's the foundation of any relationship. And I think because of such history, there's such high level of trust that's there. And it's my favorite pro. Okay. Favorite benefit that's there.
Right.
Um, if you want to do something, you want to leave a legacy, right? You want this to go on for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Think about it. Trust is
Mhm.
the foundation. And
Absolutely.
that's to me, that can't be paid, that can't be bought. So,
It's
and
built in. It's funny
yeah,
because I actually have it there too. I have, a built-in level of trust with family, with siblings, which,
yeah.
I feel like I don't understand the like the saying, like you don't go into business with family. I feel like the reason why you don't go into business with family, or they say that, is because you'll feel bad if you do something untrustworthy, right? Because you're gonna break their level of trust. I don't think it has to do anything with the other person. I think it has to do with that one person that doesn't want to go into, right? Because they think business is supposed to be sleuthy and all of that when it's
Mm-hmm.
not.
No, it's not. And I think because you know who you're going into business with, it goes back to some of the things that we talked about. Um, we know um, each other, right, to a high level degree. So we know what we're getting into. We know all of those things, which is what makes the trust there, in my opinion.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes.
I'm gonna make this the beginning.
So the other one for a pro that's on the top of my list, well, is that regardless of how bad it gets, you can't get rid of me. We're always gonna be family, you know?
Now, is that a pro or a con?
That is a pro.
That's debatable.
You can't get rid of me. I'm here. You're stuck with me, baby.
This one is debatable. No, I'm kidding. It is definitely a pro.
I think that's good because it's like you always have to come back to the table, right? Like you you may, I may start a business with friend so and so. And that friend may do something, you know, that I don't like, or they may cheat or something. They may do something stupid, right? But at the end of the day, with a friend, I can cut that friendship off. I cannot talk with them ever again, whatever. But not that I would expect me or you to do anything, but mistakes can be made, right? Things can happen. And I can't get rid of you. I can't be like, I'm not gonna talk to Jermaine ever again. I'm gonna cut Jermaine off. I don't want to do that. I would never want to do that. I want to see my nieces and nephews, right? Like I'm not gonna do that. And
We see the reason now.
at least until they get a cell phone. Um, so no, even without, I wouldn't want to do that. So I feel like you have a reason to push through those tough times because it's family, which if you can get through those tough times, it just makes the business and your relationship stronger.
Well, if you look, why a lot of businesses fail is because they have not been able to overcome some level of tough period, right? There was a period of tough time in that business. They weren't able to overcome it. The business failed. When you have a relationship where it's a sibling, and I've seen some siblings like they go their separate ways, which I never really understood, because it's blood, right? It's the one person um, that is going to be there for you at the end of the day, right? So it forces you, like you say, to go through those tough times. So it's built in trust, built in perseverance. I like it. It's all built in.
It's already
Built
there.
in accountability. Like it.
Accountability, trust, values, all of it's there.
Yeah, it's all built
All of
in.
it's there. Yeah. You're starting like two or three steps ahead from, the people that met in college and had
Agreed.
an idea over a drunken night playing beer pong.
Agreed. So if you're a sibling and you're thinking to work with your sibling and do a project, a business, or a podcast, or a YouTube channel, whatever, with your sibling, the pros outweigh the cons any day of the week. You agree?
100%. 100%. Um, was that like your outro? Is that what you're trying to do?
Kind of.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's fine.
You want to mention the quote? I'll cut this part out.
Okay. Um, Yeah, I can say the quote. So just to end it on a positive note, I did come across a quote from Deepak Chopra. It basically says that if you want to do anything, or basically says that if you want to do really important things in life, and big things in life, you can't do anything by yourself. And your best teams are your friends and your siblings. So, Jermaine, you are my first pick on my team.
Right back at you, sis. Right back at you. That was a heartfelt moment.
Did you
Appreciate you so
cry?
much.
You want some tissue?
No, I didn't cry, and no, I don't need
You're
tissues,
supposed
but
to
it
cry.
was heartfelt. Okay. By the way, there's a con right there. Calling out the emotions. Just let it ride. Let's feel it. It's beautiful. Enjoy the beautiful moment.
You're supposed to name your emotions. So it's healthy.
To what?
You're supposed to name your emotions. It's healthy. It's okay.
The only doctors say these things.
Yeah, and
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 nothing. You win.
competition. There we go.
So join us next Sunday. We're going to be here next Sunday at 10 o'clock. We'd love to have you here. By the way, if you enjoyed this video, click the thumbs up. Apparently, it helps with the algorithm and it helps us get seen. Subscribe. So get the notification bell on and share. All right, share this video if you found any value. Thank you,
And
and
if
we'll
you
see
didn't
you.
like it, go away.
Yeah, don't be clicking the thumbs down button. Who does
Don't
that,
do
by
it.
the way?
Just go away. Leave. One. But watch the full thing.
Yeah. See you next week.
Bye.